Hello. It's finally cooled down a little bit today and there's quite a breeze, so I'm going to get my runner beans, the last of the runner beans, into the ground because it's just been too hot. I was worried about them because they've now got quite tall and leggy. I was worried about them just losing so much water and drying out. So this morning they've had a really good soak, and these poor old bean plants are really quite tall now, but I'm going to get them into the ground and wind them around their cones and hopefully they'll rump away. As you can see, the ground is very dry, and I will give these a really good watering once they're in, or once I've got them all in. And again, I'm leaving in a little well, pushing the soil up in a circle around it, so that when I water them, the water stays in that area. It's like a mini swale. You see, the root balls are, well, they're effectively pot bound. Luckily they've been able to escape a little bit, but these very definitely needed planting out some time ago. So that was yesterday. Got the last of the beans in, which I was really pleased about. And then just as I was finishing, something caught my eye in the brassica tunnel. That is the next bed but one on from those beans. Last year, when I was clearing those beans, I decided not to lift them out of the ground, but to cut them off about this much, maybe 4 inches, 3 to 4 inches above the soil, and leave that root ball in with all the nitrogen fixing modules on the bean roots in place to increase the nitrogen level in that bed, which seemed like quite a good idea. What I've noticed is, and I have heard this in the past, but I haven't seen it happen, is Those root balls have survived the winter. They survived not only just an ordinary winter, but a very, very wet late autumn. A week or two of sub-zero temperatures. We had very thick snow, very, very heavy frost, and the ground was frozen solid. And they've survived and they've started to regrow. Hurrah! Hurrah! This is really good news. That's not such good news for the beans that are actually in there, because they're going to be growing in amongst those cabbages. They're not going to have anything pollinating them because obviously I've got the net over it. So I've got two choices now. I can just cut them off and let those plants die, or I could try digging them up and transplanting those roots. I'm fascinated by it. I'm absolutely fascinated. I'm thrilled I'm actually thrilled to bits, and that it could be that we could have perennial beans. So this is a climbing bean, it's a runner bean, it's a variety, it's an old variety called White Lady. It has white beans like this, and it has white flowers. I really like it. I would happily grow it just for the flowers. I think they're beautiful. The bees absolutely love them. So just from the point of view of supporting our bee population, they're worth growing. But it's very exciting. So this year I will do a proper experiment. This year's beans I will again just cut off at 3 to 4 inches above the ground. I'm going to cover them to protect them for the winter, so they'll get, as the other ones did, a good deep layer of duck bedding over them to see them through the winter. And we'll see what happens next spring. I will assign that bed as potentially runner beans again. Obviously we don't want to grow them there too often in the same spot, because there is the potential for build-up of diseases. But I've met seasoned gardeners, and when I seasoned I mean who've been gardening a good 20 years longer than me, who say that they've been growing runner beans in the same space for 20 or 30 years, that's the only space in their gardens that's available for growing beans. Now if they can grow other stuff, well, obviously they can move the beans, but they have chosen to grow them in the same space again and again, and they appear to be okay. Now I don't want to do that for 20 or 30 years, but it might be really interesting to just try for a couple of years and see if plants that have overwintered and therefore already got an established root system are actually more vigorous as plants than growing them from seed each year. It's an interesting thought. It's one I'll need to think about a bit more, but I will do that experiment with that full bed that is planted now. And I'll think about what I'm going to do with the ones that are in the cabbage tunnel. So inevitably, this is going to be an almost 2-year experiment. We'll come back in May or June next year and see whether this year's plants have survived. And then I'll let them grow on and just have a look and see how vigorous they are. And what I'll also do is plant a few canes with some seeds next year, so we can do a side-by-side comparison of plants that have overwintered and survived, and on the other hand plants that are grown from new seeds that year. Well, that's all for me today. It's got quite cool outside. In fact, you could almost call it blustery, so I'm going to go out and get on with some more planting. And so, wherever you are in the world and whatever you've got planned for today, I hope it's a good one. And I also hope you'll join me again next time.